You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATV. This is March the 26th, 2018. With you today is myself, Woe Is Me, Carl, and the always wonderful Joel.
I like it. I like that you're embracing it.
I'm not Woe Is Me today, though.
No?
No, I'm a champion today.
You are?
Yeah,
of what?
I am.
Of life?
You know what? Some days, yes. But today, I am a fantasy hockey champion, coming in first place. The first time either of us have won the league that we do with our listeners.
Oh, well done. Just kidding. So angry. Our listeners are the worst. How could they not beat you?
You gave them one job this year.
I know.
It was to beat me.
Actually the worst. I don't want to alienate everyone that's listening right now.
How about just the other 10 people in that league?
Yeah, who lost to you? Who do I need to call out?
Oh, you mean who did it? Who didn't? Yeah, Kristen lost to me. She lost this week in the finals.
Kristen. Shame.
Then
Shame.
Nate lost to me in the semifinals.
Come on, Nate.
Or no, sorry, no, he didn't lose to me in the semifinals. He lost to Kristen. Mark lost to me in the semifinals.
Come on, Mark.
And then you lost to me in the first round.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. My team was very injured and bad.
Okay.
I shouldn't even made the playoffs.
Well, you did. You made it.
So does this mean it's over? Like we're not doing the fantasy league anymore?
Just retire on top?
To retire on top. We need to find something else that the listeners can beat you at.
Sure. They beat me, 2 out of 3 years in this league? I'm all right. I'm all right retiring on top. Maybe we'll do it again next year.
Didn't we do one where we each had teams one year?
Yeah, technically these were still teams. So like the divisions, we just left the names as Team Carl and Team Joel.
But it wasn't the same though.
No, it was not the same. This was both me and Kristen were in the same division. So I'd already wrapped up the division championship. It was just playing for pride. I won by 1 point. What was nice was some guy by the name of Connor McDavid had 9 points this week. That kind of solidified my victory. And Pekka Rinne with a shutout. So shout out to those two for helping me win fantasy hockey.
They're definitely listening and are very happy right now. They're just like, oh my goodness, I just got mentioned on the Fourth Line Podcast.
Well, it's good because
just got shout out.
You've alienated literally singles of listeners already.
No, nobody believes that I actually hate them, except Brad Marchand, probably.
Yeah. Well, now he's not going to listen anymore. He's unsubscribing.
Do you think he was a subscriber at one point?
I don't think that any Boston Bruins fan after more than 5 episodes is still a subscriber to this show. But that's okay. You can't please them all. There's 31 teams out there. If there's one fan base that won't listen to us, the other 30 are more than welcome to rip on the Bruins.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think we have definitely talked about it, whether it's been on air or not. We've talked about how we're okay if Bruins fans hate us.
Yes, we've accepted that. That's fine.
See, and that's why no one should be sad that I don't know what I was going with that. Let's move on.
All right.
This is
So, Joel, we are even closer to the playoffs. Let's start with some happenings from last night's game. For those of you who have not seen, head to the Twitters and search Anaheim Ducks overtime, and you can see, or the Google, just find a video, find a GIF of what we are about to talk about. Joel has his hand up. Yes,
I
Joel.
would suggest that our listeners go to Bing.
Bing?
Yeah,
Okay. Is that the official search engine of the Fourth Line podcast?
I don't know. Oh, I just had a really good joke that I could have said, but I think it would have made more people upset, and so I'm not going to say it.
All right. While people are pulling up that video, we'll give them a second to pull that up. We'll let everyone know about ATB Financial, the great supporter of the Alberta Podcast Network, supporting shows like this one. And they support us. They support the community at large. They support hockey all across Alberta. And whether it be minor hockey or professional hockey, they are a big part of the sports scene in Alberta. If you head over to atb.com/listens, you can find out some of the ways that ATB can help you. They want to know how they can help you and be a part of your banking experience. So thank you to ATB for their support of the Alberta Podcast Network and for being a great bank that likes to help people. So now that you've pulled up that video, now that you've binged it, you can watch and see that overtime in that game, Anaheim Ducks won the draw and just went back into their zone. It sat there, right? They just kind of hung out for about a minute and 20 seconds of the 5-minute overtime. And the reason
Why did they do that, Carl?
Well, the reason they did that is because someone, I've already talked about how great a week Connor McDavid had. He was on the ice. And they said, you know what we're not going to do? Give him the puck. So they just sat back. Yeah, you should, possession. Everyone's talking about their fancy stats in their possession. Well, Anaheim had great possession numbers last night in overtime.
Their Corsi was through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, no one was coursing against them for that minute and 20 seconds that they held the puck. And so they just kind of waited until they were forced to do something, which made for the worst overtime I have ever seen in my life. So this led to a number of questions for me. Number one being, why did it take so long for someone to do this? If you have the other team's best player on the ice and you're like, you know what? We're fine with going to the shootout. Let's give that guy only one chance instead of burning us in overtime. Why do you think it took this long for someone to blatantly do this?
I don't know. There are teams that have done this before. This is not the first time, but it has not been that blatant. It hasn't just been we're just going to sit here. Where was it? There was a game years ago. Was it the Flyers versus Tampa that they did the same thing?
Yeah, Guy Boucher did that.
So, so I've teams definitely do it against the Leafs when Matthews are on the ice. I would imagine teams would do it against the Avs with McKinnon. I don't know, teams I would imagine Patrick Laine, Alex Ovechkin. Teams probably do this. I just don't think it's as blatant as it was.
Right, you're cautious, but not just, we're literally going to sit here until you leave the ice.
Yeah, and it worked.
Right, it did, yeah.
Sort of. Although I think McDavid was still on the ice, but he must have been tired. He was just skating around. Why didn't the Oilers go and get them? That's the other question.
I always wonder. Maybe just push the puck a little bit.
Yeah, McDavid's fast, I thought. I thought he could, so if he gets out of position, he could just get back into position.
Well, he's also smart, so he wouldn't be out of position. He wouldn't put himself in that situation. Well,
if he wasn't putting himself in a bad position, he wouldn't be on the Oilers.
Oh, I set you up on a T for that one. On a T. So, do you think, like you said, we saw it a while ago, in that infamous Flyers
decades ago
Tampa game. Do you think that there's anything that the NHL needs to do to make this stop? Is there something that needs to be done to make people do we need a shot clock? Do we need the NBA where you have 8 seconds to cross half? Is there something like that we need to add in to force the pace of play?
Get rid of the loser point, and first person to score in the shootout gets both points.
So just do it Sudden death shootout.
Sudden death shootout. So basically, the home team, if you're the away team, you can't just sit back on the puck because you're always going to choose to shoot first.
Obviously.
And so just do it.
Okay.
That's the worst idea, and nobody is going to go for it.
There's a lot going on there for sure. I think that there are ways that you can do it. Certainly, getting rid of the loser point would make that a thing, right? Or if you made it where, honestly, this is an artifact of 3-on-3 now, because you've made it where you have the great players become greater, right? When Connor McDavid, you're playing 5-on-5, he's only 20% of the players on the ice, but you make 3-on-3, he's now 33%, because numbers. So you make them more important at those points in the game.
I'm too confused with what just happened. I don't. Sure, yeah, Carl, I agree. Not math, Corsi, high danger chances.
You just listed every analytics thing you know.
I know Fenwick, high danger chances, shooting percentage, bazingas. Is that a thing?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Some of those were right though.
All of those were right. No one uses Fenwick anymore, though.
No. It's just all Corsi all the time. Poor Matt Fenwick.
Did you see the quote amongst the Leafs coaches about Corsi this week?
Was about Polak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Assistant Head Coach DJ Smith, who I just found out existed like 2 weeks ago,
and now he's everywhere.
Now he is all over everywhere. I guess like Babcock was in a scrum and he came over and he's like, Polak laid a big hit last night. What does Corsi say about that? Or something like that. It was just like, it basically made it seem like the Leaf coaches have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. Just big hits better than shots on net or even attempts. So
I'm fairly certain they don't actually believe that, but it was pretty comical.
Yeah, they have to be in on what Roman Polak is, right? You would hope.
Oh, I'm fairly certain. And like for all the Roman Polak hate, he's actually like played like a competent eighth defenseman the last second half.
Well, that's good. There's only two guys who should be in the lineup over him now. That's not bad.
I know. So, like, as opposed to everybody, like the beginning of the season, everybody, like you and me, anybody should have been in the lineup instead of him. Yeah. I don't know. They're not going to change. They're not going to do anything about 3-on-3 because of this, though, right?
No, I don't think so. But I would not be surprised. Like if I was a team, I would certainly take this opportunity whenever I can, to make this happen. Like, if it helps me win the game, I don't really care how I win the game. All I care about is winning. I don't care about if it looks bad for the fans. My job's to win. Fans are going to be happy if I win.
Right. The thing is, like, this doesn't matter in the playoffs. So that's at least the saving grace of this, is that it's dumb. It shouldn't happen. It's annoying, but there's no chance of that happening in the playoffs.
Right. And I think if you see this at like the end of games in the playoffs though, right? Like you'll sit back in your own zone. This can happen at any point in a game. This is not something that's special just to overtime, right? This can happen in the third period when you've got a lead. It can happen at any point in time.
But it's harder to do 5-on-5 than it is 3-on-3.
Truth. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I did hear what this made me think of was a conversation I had with someone this weekend, and it's a bit of a secondhand tale that they told, but it was from a former NBA official. And the story as it goes, and I'm sure someone has heard this before, but if not, they were talking about, it was, I think, a retired official talking about what his job is as a ref. So he said his job, number one job, was to keep players safe. That's the first thing he was supposed to do. Second job is to put on an entertaining game for the fans. So at what point is there anything that an official can do to try to make this happen, right? Like they're the ones in control of the game. They're the ones doing this. Do you think there's merit if you're doing that to a delay game penalty, or is that excessive?
I think if you go like as far as the Ducks went and like, or like I think was it the Flyers that did it, that stood in their zone, or was it the Lightning that did?
It was the Lightning.
So like, but I remember the Lightning, like they just literally parked behind the net. The Flyers weren't going to go after them, so they just stood there. At that point, like if you're standing still for like 15 seconds with the puck, I can see I wouldn't be upset about a delay of game penalty because that is the most avoidable penalty ever. So if you're getting that, it's your own fault.
And I would think like if the officials are going to go to that point, I would assume that they would probably give like a verbal warning, like, "Hey, advance the puck or you're getting a penalty." I would hope or think, right? Like you're gonna tell the players. And if they don't from then consequences are happening.
They do that when guys pin the puck against the boards.
Exactly, yeah.
They tell them to
hear them
advance
yelling,
the puck.
move it, whatever.
So, yeah, I could see that. Like, now, refs take it too far sometimes, and so they'll probably abuse that rule. It'll just be like a guy they don't like. It'll be like 3 seconds, and they'll blow the whistle. It'll just be like, ha! Delay a game. I could totally see that happening.
Dennis Weidman's playing men's leagues hockey 10 years down the road, and he's getting delayed game calls all the time.
I was trying to think of who like the guy was that the refs would actually hate, and like that's the guy. Like
except he doesn't get to play NHL hockey anymore. So
no,
shocking.
That's
Yeah, I would be in favor of that, or even just blow it dead, right? Because that's what they'll do if it's pinned against the boards. A good example you had there. So blow it dead. And go from there.
I always have good examples.
I know. Yeah. Like I came up with the Weidman example, but you were pretty good.
It was really, we make the best team. We are like, we call ourselves the fourth line, but really we're much better than that.
I would hope so. Yeah. Other things happening in the world of hockey this week. Don Cherry did something crazy. Does that surprise you?
No, I'm not entirely sure that. Are we sure Don Cherry knew what he was doing?
I think I can guarantee Don Cherry didn't know what he was doing. Are we ever sure that when he opens his mouth, he fully comprehends the logic behind what he's saying, or even what he's saying?
Don Cherry should probably just go away.
It's about that time, right?
It's well past. He's 84. I think it's well past.
He's that old?
He's 84 years old. Not saying that all old people should just go away, but this one probably should.
Right. Yeah.
Poor Ron. Like at this point, how much do you think Ron MacLean makes to essentially look after Don Cherry?
Enough. Yeah, I think Ron MacLean makes more than enough to babysit Don Cherry once a week.
Really? I don't know. I'm not convinced.
According to this website says it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ron MacLean. No, still doesn't have it. This website, alphalife.me. You're terrible. Never go there. Bing let me down, Joel. I tried. Bing let me down. Ron MacLean's supposed net worth is $500,000. That seems low.
That's it?
That seems low. Yeah.
That's not.
Oh no, that's his salary. That's his salary.
Oh, that's still not enough.
I think that's plenty
to look after, just for Coach's Corner, or that's his salary for everything he does. That guy works all the time.
Yeah, because he's got his hometown hockey on Sundays.
Yeah, and he replaced that other guy. That was he was awful.
Yeah, I wanted him to be so good. He wasn't.
He just didn't. It didn't work out. I don't know. Most people have to have heard, like at least in Canada, have heard what Ron McLean said, right?
Yeah, so what he said,
not
is,
Ron McLean, Don Cherry. Ron McLean hasn't said crazy things yet.
Don Cherry went on and said they were talking about the Ottawa Senators and how with Eugene Melnyk, and the exact quote he had was, "He's nuts to stay there. He'd sell out Quebec in a heartbeat." So he's talking about the fact that Melnyk should leave town and disappear. In reference to some of the comments, he said Melnyk's thrown millions of dollars into that franchise, and there's 7 community rinks around Ottawa that he's bankrolled, and that fans are giving him a hard time. And that's when people started to get upset, because Eugene Melnyk is not the one that built the community rinks. It was the Ottawa Senators Foundation that built the rinks. So sure, the Senators' name is on it, but Eugene Melnyk, that money comes from 50-50, from auctioning off, game-worn jerseys, things like that, right? Any sort of fundraiser for that goes and builds community rings, puts on things like that. So that money is literally from the fans. And Donald Cherry decides that that's enough evidence to support Melnyk stealing the team away from said fans. I think you look at it and you're like, should the Senators leave? Like, from a business perspective? Sure. But from a fan perspective, you shouldn't do it as a screw you to the fans. That's not what this is. They've started this Melnyk out campaign. They've put up billboards in the same way that the New York Islanders have put out Garth Snow billboards. Like, all they want is a good team. That's all they're really asking for. And I don't think that that's too much to ask.
I think that, if you're making business decisions just because you're upset at fans, you're probably not making good business decisions. But if you're making business decisions because it would be best to leave Ottawa, then all the power to you. That's what I think, right? I think it's the best business decision to leave Ottawa. However, I'm not a multi-millionaire that owns an NHL team, so what do I know?
Right. I also know that he bought the team for $120 million, and Forbes says it's worth $420 million. So to me, I'd be like, I've tripled my money. I should just cut my losses at this point. If there even are losses. I know these guys, like, they say we're losing money, and then you actually look and they've fudged the numbers so that it looks like they are. And then we have a lockout.
There's no way the Ottawa Senators are actually losing money.
Right.
I can't imagine that. I don't know anything. There's no way.
Here's the thing. Values of teams don't triple over 15 years when that loses money. Right? Like, that's not how that works.
I'm not a businessman, but that sounds correct to me, Carl.
Right. Something that's a money-losing venture doesn't suddenly become that. Yeah, so if they want to leave for making money, sure. Quebec's got that arena. They've been trying to woo people there, but Quebec also had a team leave already. So, I think, is it a slam dunk that they would do great? No. Probably, yes.
Okay. Here's the big question, though. Does Don Cherry leave Coach's Corner by his own choice, or does he finally say something that is just so over the line that he gets fired?
See, I think being factually wrong is not enough for him to get fired. Because people are factually wrong on sports broadcasts all the time, right? You listen to something, especially if you're listening to fan or a team broadcast from another market, and it's your team. Like, if you were to watch, I'm sure, if you've got the Leafs game on right now, you probably have the Leafs feed on. But if you were to put on the feed for the opponent, there'd probably be a lot of facts that they have wrong, right? The odd time I'll be like, oh, sure, I'll watch not the Avs feed when I'm watching a game. And it is shocking the lack of information that they have and knowledge. So it doesn't surprise me when Don Cherry doesn't fact check things. When, we saw George LaRock make an idiot of himself making statements about Taylor Hall and rehab this week on Twitter. Like, we see people in hockey media not fact checking all the time. So that doesn't surprise me. That's not enough for him to lose a job. He would have to say something offensive, and yes, I think that he will. And I think he's crazy enough that he thinks that this is the shtick that everyone wants, right? Because he's done it for so long. He's done this same thing. I think he thinks this is what people are asking for, is crazy Don Cherry. And it's finally run out.
I don't think it's fine. Like, well, I guess I can't believe. So if you want to go, I used our good old Bing and searched up controversial comments by Donald Cherry, and the article that I have pulled up is from 2013, and it's got his 7 most outrageous comments from then.
I love the timely content that Bing provides to us. It's so nice.
And yet there are definitely articles that have been written since then about the racist things that he said. How is this guy still employed?
Yeah, I have no idea.
This is
like, because we're talking about it, right? People are going to tune in to see what he says next. I don't think there's many people who are turning off Coach's Corner because of what Don Cherry says.
I don't know. I haven't watched Coach's Corner in a long time, and I watch the Leafs game on Saturday night almost every week. But I always disappear during Coach's Corner.
Well, we'll see. I honestly think that he should be gone. If he disappeared, I would not be sad. We will see what comes of Don Cherry's media career.
There's a comment he made in 1989. If he said today, he would have been fired.
That for sure doesn't surprise me.
I'm fairly certain of that. Anyways.
Well, we'll leave it at that.
Poor Ron McLean.
Yeah, that's all right. He's making $500,000 for it.
This is not worth it.
I think it is. I would sit there for $500,000. CBC, call me up. Elimination Station.
Elimination Station.
There's 2 weeks left. We have 2 more teams to eliminate, Joel. We've gotten here. So we have eliminated all but 8 teams in the Eastern Conference. The East was much easier to sort out, right? As it stands right now, we're recording on Monday night. So this is, just under 2 weeks left in the season. The Florida Panthers are sitting 3 points back of the Devils with 2 games in hand and a injured Roberto Luongo.
I'm a little worried about that one.
Right.
I'm a little worried.
So he's banged up. They say that he should be back and better, but this is also a 38-year-old goaltender with a history of injury problems.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried that, like, right now I believe we are correct.
Okay, so the 8 teams that have not been eliminated in the East are still the 8 teams you think will make it.
I believe so. I think we are correct, right?
Okay.
So far.
I think so. I think, sure, the Panthers are winning right now over the Islanders, but tomorrow the Devils get to play the Hurricanes, so they both get easy games, right?
No, not what I'm saying is, like, the teams that are actually in playoff spots are the ones we haven't eliminated.
Oh,
so,
yes,
so
correct.
far we've been right. So, where in the West we had to pull someone out because, Carl was just too sad that his Avs weren't going to make it. So he willed them into the playoffs.
Without looking at who the Devils play the rest of the way, here's who the Panthers have to play. They play, and I'll say the difficult team. So after tonight, there's 8 more games for them. They play the Leafs, they play the Predators, and they play the Bruins 3 times. That is...
And the Bruins are going to be playing because they're playing for first in the Atlantic.
Right. And then they get Buffalo, Ottawa, Carolina. So they have 5 very difficult games, 2 fairly easy games, and one like you should probably win it, but maybe you won't against Carolina. So from that angle, like the schedule is not easy for them. The Devils, the team that they're most likely to catch, have, a moderately easier schedule.
They have games in hand, though. That's the thing.
They'll have one game and a half tonight, but the Devils, their difficult games, their games against playoff teams are against Pittsburgh, Washington, Toronto. So they've only got 3 out of 7 against playoff teams. So a little easier road for them to the playoffs. So to me, even if that game in hand, you consider that game in hand one of those Boston games, then it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I'm thinking we're right. Florida won't make it. They're still eliminated.
So where do we go? So we have to eliminate a West team.
Yeah.
There's kind of one obvious one.
So the ones, let's go like wild card down. So Colorado, St. Louis, Los Angeles, and Dallas. Dallas
has got to be out of it.
Dallas
they're 5 points back.
And have lost 4 games in a row.
And have played one more game than the wild card teams. They're out of it. They're not climbing over the Kings and St. Louis. It's over.
It's done, Dallas. It's a
get rid of them.
Lock it in.
For some reason, I felt like, I don't know why. I think there was an episode that we talked a lot about Dallas, and I think for some reason I thought we eliminated them, but we must not have.
Did we? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. We just must have been talking about them because, I think for a while, were they ever? Or what division are they in? Are they in the Pacific or Central?
Yeah, they're in the Pacific.
So, for the longest time, were they not? Were they even in? They weren't even. Were they above a wild card at one point this season? I feel like they were. Maybe they weren't.
I'm sure at some point. They've been in that wild card spot for a fair amount of the season.
Okay. Well, how do you fix this team?
I think the way you start with this team is you get a healthy Ben Bishop. So, it's the same thing from last year, right? The number one reason that this team struggled down the stretch was their goaltending, right? Kari Lehtonen played terribly, and Ben Bishop wasn't there to give him the support that he needed.
Because Antti Niemi was there.
So, shockingly, they parted ways with him. I don't know why. So, to me, and it's not like you can say, there's no way that you can just go and say, get healthy Ben Bishop, right? That's not a thing that you can say to them. That just doesn't work.
And Ben Bishop, even when healthy, didn't really play that great.
I'm very pleased with what he gave this season, for sure.
So when I was watching him, it never really seemed like he was playing that great. Did he turn it around in the second half? When how many games did he end up playing?
So he started 51 games. So certainly the lion's share of that work. He, 916 save percentage, 249 goals against, and a goal save above average, 7 above Kari Lehtonen. So, that puts him as a bona fide number 1 goalie, and Kari Lehtonen, who played 25 games, as a goalie that is clearly below average. So if you're going to give Ben Bishop enough time off, which you need to have someone better behind him. That's not Kari Lehtonen.
Is Lehtonen finally done? He's got to be.
Yeah.
He's got to be done. That deal's got to be done, right?
Well, there's only one way to find out. Bing it.
He is. This is the last year of his deal, which is probably great. That's a huge...
Well, that's not only is that the fact that you don't have to start Kari Lehtonen, but you also don't have to pay him $6 million.
I know. So they could turn Mr. Lehtonen $6 million into a $1 million backup and a $5 million defenseman. They could do really well. They're going to have to replace Hamhuis and Lehtonen, which I think is good.
Right.
I think it's good that you're replacing those two guys. And this team, they have the studs up front that you need.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This team maybe just needs is depth. What like goaltending and depth.
Goaltending and depth for sure, because like you said, they have the studs. But this was a team that greatly relied on Jason Spezza to be a core piece of the team, and
you can't always rely on.
And he's not anymore, right? Like, he's 34 years old. He has 25 points this year. That's not what they need from a guy who should be their number two. Like, there was times last year he was being used in a number one center role, right? Now they've moved Sagan back to that, so that's great. Like,
we all make mistakes.
Right. But like, Jason Spezza should be better for them. So, having him, he will be in the last year of his deal next year. So I think you can start to look at into the future, what to do. If they were to bring in, another center, and they tried with Martin Hansel and that didn't work out either. So maybe going into free agency isn't the solution, but this is, like you said, Joel, this is a team that's going to have about almost $10 million in cap space opened up by Lettinen leaving, Hamhuis leaving. If you went out and even if you were to just be like, we're just going to sign people, if you went out and spent $3 million on a centerman and $7 million on Mike Green, this team gets better.
Mike Green's not making $7 million.
Well, there you go. So I'm generously giving Mike Green $7 million. I think as the number one defenseman on the market this offseason, he'll get fairly well paid. Especially if you want to keep it short like he did in Detroit, he just came off a 3x6 deal. So I think looking at a 3x7 deal is not out of question.
How old? He's not going to make that. It's going to be closer to, like, if he gets 3, it'd be like 5 at the max. He's not going to make more than what he's making in Detroit.
I think he could make the case on a short deal to make the same or more. Obviously, because that was my guess, but so yeah, what do you think? I think if they were to make a play for a defense, like a free agent defenseman, a center, you continue to work and develop some of these young guys, see what they turn into, and then you see what you have in a goaltender somewhere.
Yeah, and you just get a cheap goalie. We all know that you don't need, like, your backup doesn't need to make a lot of money.
Just claim Calvin Pickard off waivers. It's very easy. Or Malcolm Subban on waivers. Like, just the first goaltender that goes on waivers after the season starts, claim him. That's what you do.
That is a great idea. I don't know. I'm looking at the defenseman free agents this year are terrible.
That's why Mike Green's going to probably make like $7 million.
That or just nobody gets paid.
They just go the other way.
Yeah, just be like, we're not going to let anybody make any money.
Yeah, I think
there are a lot of Las Vegas Knights.
Yeah, that's a thing that they did. I think like there'll be Green, Toby Anstrom, John Carlson. Those are like the big name guys that are going to be out there.
John Carlson's going to get paid by someone that's going to regret it.
Could be Dallas.
It's going to, like, I think John Carlson's probably better than Carl Alsner, but, like, doesn't it feel like Alsner all over again?
Is it literally just because they both have Carl? Is this your anti-Carl bias coming out again, Joel? Because I'm sick of it.
It could be. You could sign Brandon Davidson or just trade a third-round draft pick for him.
Just claim him on waivers later. That's what, and then trade him for a third-round draft pick.
Johnny Oduya could go back there.
That worked well last time.
Cody Franzen.
Roman Polak.
Is available.
He can bring them all to Corsi. That's what you need to do.
Playoff team or not next year?
Yes.
I think so too. They're like, and it just like any team, it hinges a lot on Ben Bishop. But like, if he can be even somewhat the goalie that he was in years past, this team has so much talent. Like, it has enough talent to be a playoff team.
If you get, because what I gave the numbers of how many he's played. If you can get 60, yeah, I'd say 62 starts. Like, he's had 51 this year. If you get, I guess, 65 starts out of Ben Bishop, that's what you need. But that's not like his career high is 63. So maybe like 60, what he got this year is the pace that you could expect Ben Bishop to give you.
So like, what if they gave him 55 and then went out and got like, I don't even know who you could, like, I'm looking at these goalies and like, I don't know, like Hutchinson, Khudobin, Pavlich. Those are the kind of range. Those guys are going to get paid more than. No, they're not. Those are all about $1 million guys. I was trying to think, like, could you go and pay a guy a little bit more and get like that top, like that higher tier goaltender to be that backup for a year? But don't sign him to, like, don't go and do what they did with Lettinen and sign Niemi for 5 years. Just sign him for 1 year, a little bit more than your standard backup. But there's not really those guys on the market this year.
No, there are guys, if you wanted to, like, you could I wouldn't say easily, but if you made an offer to the Toronto Maple Leafs, a respectable offer, one of those 3 backup goaltenders that you have could be made available, right? Like, it's not out of the question. It's not like they're saying, well, you offer us a second round pick for one of these guys. They're not going to say no, right? And like, even that is likely higher than you would need to. So
please offer that for McElhinney. We will give you McElhinney for a second round pick. Absolutely. It's a little steep.
but you'll think about it and probably say yes.
Yeah, we will probably do that. I think that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the Dallas Stars. They're pretty close. Obviously, they got eliminated in the second last elimination station of the season. So next week, it's one of the Blues, the Kings, or the Avalanche returning to the elimination station.
It's not any of the Avalanche. We can't do it.
They can't be in it twice?
No. That means we are eliminating a team like a week before the end of the season.
That is 100% what we will be doing.
That's scary.
Yeah?
I'm worried about us.
Which team do you think we will be eliminating next week?
I think we'll be eliminating the Blues.
I also think we will be eliminating the Blues. But Jake Allen decided to play good hockey again. So if Jake Allen keeps it up, then obviously that's the only way that they're going to make it. So Carter Hutton, not enough to carry that team, shockingly.
I know.
So you mentioned the fact that Boston is continuing to play strong hockey because they can potentially still win the Atlantic, and especially with the fact that tonight in Arizona, Steven Stamkos is not in the lineup for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Is Steven Stamkos injury prone, and is he going to be ready for the playoffs?
He'll be ready for the playoffs. Is he injury prone? We have already answered that question. That is a hard yes.
I find it so obviously you have that buff, right? They're 2 games up on Boston. They pretty much have home ice locked down for the first round, right? 9 points up on the Leafs. And they're playing Arizona. You can sit Vasilevsky, you can sit Steven Stamkos when you're playing Arizona, especially when the Leafs are losing against Buffalo.
It's true.
So, they've essentially have home ice locked down. To me, I would not be worried. And if I'm a Tampa fan, I would honestly be grateful of the fact that they're giving these guys some time to whatever they have as injuries. Give them a game or 2 off to rest up. There's nothing that's going to hurt them, especially if you get them back, right? If you gave them all this time off, that might be a little stretching it, but, let them practice, keep them out of games. I think that's fine.
Would you rather be a Boston fan or a Lightning fan right now?
Like, In what regard?
Who's more likely? Who's more likely to win the Stanley Cup? Which team are you? Because for the longest time, basically all season, it's been all Tampa all the time. It didn't matter what was happening in the West, didn't matter what was happening in the East. Tampa was winning the Stanley Cup. That's all anyone talked about.
Right.
It's how good they were. And now all of a sudden, Boston is right there. Tampa doesn't look otherworldly anymore.
Yeah. And they're not currently sitting in the President's Trophies position. Nashville passed them there.
And everyone's talking about how Nashville's going to win now. That's the
right. Yeah,
the flavor of the week.
It is very obviously those two teams separated by 3 points this late in the season. Very comparable teams, quality wise, or I guess 2 points separate them right now. For me, I would still rather be a Tampa fan. Partially because they've been so consistent all year. Boston struggled, went on a great run, and then has played still quality hockey to end the season. I like the fact that they've just been steady. They've done it all year. There was no lulls. This is who they are as a team. And they're younger. There's a fair amount of guys on Boston that I look at and I'm wearing down as the season goes. If you're giving your 22-year-old goaltender time off at the end of the season versus 32-year-old Tuukka Rask, I'd much rather have that. Or you give Victor Hedman a night off versus Chara, right? Sure, Boston's decore's gotten a lot younger, but Chara's 41 years old. That's not 41-year-olds are not designed for a cup run.
Based off of what you're saying is, as a Leafs fan, I want to play Boston.
You do want to play Boston, yes.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I think like a long time ago in the season, January, December, I would have been with you. Now I'm give me either of them. Beat either of them.
Now, again, you're losing to the Sabres right now.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Don't matter.
Just checking. Just wanted to remind you.
Everyone loses a game every now and then.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not. I'm asking you the questions. I don't.
The biggest problem with the Leafs this year is they have been locked into a playoff spot for forever.
Right. So they haven't had a game that's really mattered in a while.
Yeah, they have been. Sure, they could move. They were never going to be moving up.
Yeah.
They've been locked in third in this division for forever. Doesn't really matter. We haven't had we haven't had a meaningful game in months. So they will not tell you that, which I appreciate.
Right.
But
they're not literally saying we're mailing this in, but also a little bit. I'm glad you say that everyone can lose a game because my team lost 7-1 to a team chasing them in the playoff hunt.
That's not good.
Is that something that you want to let happen?
No, that's arguably worse than losing to the Sabres right now. The Leafs leave to the Sabres tonight. It changes nothing for the playoffs.
Yeah. All it does is somehow make the Sabres moderately respectable, which gets them a worse draft pick.
Which is hilarious. So
to be fair,
all on board.
The Sabres are they're 3 points back of Arizona still, so they've got last in the league almost on lockdown.
They're just terrible, hey?
Yeah, they're pretty bad. This week was a roller coaster of emotions for my Avalanche. Touched on that for a second.
This week or the last 8 years?
I think It was ever because it was the 10-game win streak, and now you've got this where they're playing great hockey. The game against Vegas on the weekend, with Vegas currently being the team they would play in the first round, was as playoff hockey as a regular season game can get. Because you're testing both these teams. Though Colorado's playing for their playoff lives. Vegas is they're pretty much cemented as the division champs there. 6 games up on San Jose, but 6 points up on San Jose. So, it felt like these guys were testing each other out for what you would get. come regular season time, and I was looking forward to it. So if that's what we get, that'll be a great series. And Colorado won, so that's also nice.
They play again tonight, do they not?
They do, yeah, a little home and home. So that's going to happen later this evening. Vegas games for some reason always start at 8:00. Also, that's a national game in Canada for everyone.
That's
which is weird because there's no Canadian teams in it.
That's so bizarre. You want to point out how the Leafs are maybe mailing it in. So the the Sabres just took an offensive zone draw, and the Leafs put the fourth line out there against Eichel and Polak. So like,
just asking for him to score.
They're just like, so like they put the fourth line out against the Sabres' first line and the third defensive pair. Like, when they didn't need to, wasn't an icing. It was just, yeah, this seems like a good idea. So
it's not.
It worked. They didn't score. It was okay. But yeah, they're maybe mailing it in. These are true statements right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know who didn't mail it in this week, Joel? Our high-sticking players.
Our listeners. The rebound.
Yeah. Mr. KG came through winning again this year. So, as per you, we've sent him a puck. Last year he won a mini stick. So there's the standard rule. Let us know. Send us a DM if there's something we can do for you. Let us know. But we're gonna try. We've been talking for a while. This isn't a thing that's based off of a repeat winner. This is something we've been trying to think of all year to kind of tweak high sticking, how we can make this game a little bit more engaging for people. So we're going to make a change now to test it out and try to keep it for the playoffs.
So yes, because we were like, we don't want to debut this in the playoffs. That sounds like a terrible idea. That's like leaving your starting goaltender out. Just like, we're not going to play him until we get to the playoffs.
Right. Like, we're just going to rest Freddie for the next 2 weeks. Don't do that, Toronto. Don't actually mail it in that bad. You want him fresh. So what will be happening? We will have the exact same questions. Do we want to do, so there was two different options we had, Joel. And one is to change the way that we crown a winner, and two is to change the criteria that we had to get points.
What are your thoughts? It doesn't matter a whole lot to me.
Okay.
I'm good either way.
Okay. So the ideas that we kind of thrown around, one is a lot of times people, especially when we're doing like 30 days of high sticking, it's a long time, right? If you haven't played from the very beginning or you miss a game or something, you really know, like, I'm out of it, right? If Matt from Reasons Are Several forgets to submit his weekly games, he's out. And he's not going to be able to win again, which we know he's eventually going to win again. So what we're going to do to make it so that no matter when you play, you have a chance.
But which I like. I like that.
Right. Because I don't want it to be, I'm playing on the last day and I know even if I'm right, I'm not going to get it. So what we're going to do is keep the scoring for this round exactly the same. So you still get 3 points if you pick the game-winning goal scorer, 2 for the first assist, 1 for the second assist. But every point you get is a name in a hat.
And then it's random.
And then we draw a name from the hat, we crown a champion.
So this way, but we still are rewarding people who play frequently and are good.
Right. So you're good. So like let me pull it up because I ran the numbers today to see. So you finished first. Right now there's 131 names in the hat. So that's how many points we handed out in the last 3 weeks.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
Man, they're so good at this. I'm terrible at this.
Yeah, I know. So KG, he won.
Thanks for confirming. Yeah, I know. You're just the worst.
He won with 21 points. So that gives him like a 2 in 13 chance of winning. So you still got a great chance, but Logan in second has a 15 in 130 chance. So everyone has a chance, and we're going to do this. This is 2 weeks. We're going to the end of the regular season here. This is how it's going to work. So we're going to try it out. I'm excited because it's going to keep everyone engaged, keep it fresh for people. If you play on the last day, you get it. That's 3 points, 3 names in the hat. You've got a chance at winning something.
I like it.
We'll draw on the show. So tune in at the end of each session. We'll draw a name, see who it is. So is it time? Let's pick our Pavel Bure's, unless you've got something else you want to.
No. Let's do this. Pick some Pavel Bure's. We're going to pick the games that we want to watch. Pick your game winner. Get the points. Do the thing.
Do the thing. Win the merch. We've got mini sticks. We've got pucks with our names on them.
Not like
all the things.
Carl and Joel. Although maybe we should get pucks with our names on them.
Just our name. Like, yeah, we could just buy like blank pucks and put our names on them. That was actually the very first prize handed out on this show.
There you go.
A puck with names on them. So,
Tuesday night. There's one game I'm looking at.
Nashville, Washington, or San Jose, St. Louis. There's 2 that I'm looking at. So which was it? One of those?
Well, one of those games isn't a thing, so I don't think it's that one.
Minnesota, which one? Minnesota, Nashville?
You said Nashville, Washington?
Oh,
not
Nashville, Minnesota, and San Jose, St. Louis. Which one of those 2 was the one you were looking at?
I was looking at San Jose, St. Louis, because that's like I want to see teams that are fighting for the playoff, because that's a playoff game.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, for sure. Similarly, there's only one game on Wednesday night that has 2 playoff teams in it, Joel. So we are going to go with the Philadelphia Flyers and the Colorado Avalanche.
They're the worst.
What, do you want to watch your Leafs and the Panthers?
That's what I'm going to watch my Leafs and the Panthers.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with you. I've come to the fact that I don't have that much of a say in the Pavel Bure's anymore after last week's debacle.
Okay, well, look, we're about to determine how much of a say you actually have, because on Thursday night,
you're not breaking the rule.
Do not
break the rule.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's how we find out, because if I don't break the rule, then you still got a chance. Plus, once the playoffs start, we will be playing the Bruins every game.
But that's because we're playing every team.
Exactly.
That's not.
So there's only 2 more weeks with this rule, and then if the Bruins win, they get to stay. Earn your right to keep playing Boston.
I'm pretty sure they have already clinched a playoff spot. I was gonna go Jersey, Pittsburgh.
All right, that's good. Another team fighting for a playoff life.
Yeah. If you want to go Tampa, you can go Tampa on Friday, but I wouldn't.
I also wouldn't. I would probably go St. Louis again on Friday.
Okay. Or Kings Anaheim.
Oh, Kings Anaheim. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rivalry night.
That's it. Good catch. Actually, after our debate about in-season rivalries being formed, there was a strong case being made for the fact that Kings Ducks, and like proximity for location is what made that one a thing, but that's an in-season rivalry that's been made.
Okay, Saturday. There is a lot of games on Saturday.
Is that the 31st? Yes.
Yeah.
I like your game actually. Toronto, Winnipeg.
Sure. I'm not super excited about that game, but that's okay.
But that's an actual test. Like Buffalo,
Winnipeg's been good.
Winnipeg's a good team for sure. So coming to actually Sunday. There's only 4 or 5 games, but 3 of them are games that I like appointment television almost. Washington, Pittsburgh, Nashville, Tampa.
That's where I'd go.
And Colorado, Anaheim. So Colorado again playing against a team that Anaheim's borderline wildcardish as well, but Nashville, Tampa, the 2 best teams in the league. I think you have to go there.
That's where I would go.
Which leaves us to Tuesday night while we record this game, or while we record our show. I think it's hard not to say that the 2 teams fighting for a wild card spot, when they play each other, Do they have to get picked?
You just want to pick Colorado twice.
Is there not a bet? Is that not the game you should be watching? Colorado, Los Angeles on Monday night? 1 week left in the season?
I don't know. The Sabres are putting up a good fight against the playoff team. They could do it again.
All right. Well, there it is. Colorado, Los Angeles on Monday night. Those are your Pavel Bure must-watch games of the week. We're getting down to it here. So play along on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast with the number 4 in it. thefourthlinepodcast.com. But before we wrap up the show, let's just let everyone know about some of the great things happening over at the Alberta Podcast Network. I'm going to pause here while I open something up. I'm going to see the fifth line this week is when we're supposed to promo Pod Summit, but
this was like a hockey-filled episode.
I thought it was really. I think it's been really good though.
I think so.
Yeah. Joel, there's lots of events happening in and around the Alberta Podcast Network. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Obviously you knew that. You are a wise individual. One of those is happening Alberta 7th. There's a DIY video content and discoverability workshop with the host of That So Maven, Andrea Becca. She's going to teach you how to improve your DIY video content and get in front of the people that you want to reach. So if you're someone who does video content, make sure to head over to albertapodcastnetwork.com/events for information on that event and everything else that you can do there. Lots going on in and around the Alberta Podcast Network in Alberta. So lots of things happening there. Head over to our website, thefourthlinepodcast.com, for great podcast content. We released our WHL preview for the playoffs, an episode of that podcast this week, as well as some great content from the writing side as well. Obviously on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast, Facebook.com/thefourthlinepodcast. For the always wonderful Joel, I am Woe Is Me, Carl. Until next week.
You know we love Alberta so much when we say Alberta 7th instead of April 7th. Boom City!